You'll see the evil side of Hollywood in this video. It's no question that Hollywood's influence transcends the US and it wields immense influence over global cultural norms and values, but an increasing number of actors have been coming out recently exposing the industry's stance towards spicy scenes, arguing on whether it's not about just on-screen content, but touches on deeper issues of ethics, culture, and the power dynamics within the industry. The shocking thing is that many of these actors were once blacklisted by Hollywood, such as Neil McDonough and Mel Gibson, but before I delve deeper into this, just watch the clip of Neil explaining his situation.
They didn't go for that on this show. They said, you have to do it or we're going to fire you. I'm like, well, I'm not going to do it. So they fired me. I was blackballed for 2 years. I couldn't get a job. And because of that, I lost my big, beautiful house in Los Angeles, my shiny Mercedes, all my stuff, and my swagger. And as you can imagine at the time, I was really crushed. They thought that I was some religious zealot, but to me, it was just that I didn't think it was the right thing to do. And also, I really love my wife. And as I've said, and I'll say it a million times, these lips are meant for one woman.
On-screen nudity has been around since the invention of the moving picture, but it was banned in the US under the Production Code, which is a set of guidelines that govern Hollywood films between 1934 and 1968. This code forbade nudity among many other topics from being showcased on the big screen. By 1968, the Motion Picture Association, which is the trade association that represents the 5 major film studios in the US, replaced the production code with a new rating system that we still use to this very day. By the way, make sure to subscribe for more discussions just like this. When it comes to Hollywood, no one can deny the massive reach and influence that they have, which plays a significant role in shaping our societal values. And by regularly including nudity and intimacy in their production, they actively shaped public perceptions of what is acceptable or standard practice in real life. This gives the elites and gatekeepers in Hollywood massive power to impose their questionable moral values on us. Actors, especially these early in the career, find themselves in a risky position. The pressure to conform to the industry's demands regarding nudity can be immense, driven by the understanding that refusal may jeopardize their careers. This dynamic raises serious ethical questions about consent and personal freedom within the industry. Many actors fall under the pressure not necessarily because they agree with it, but because their alternative means the losing of their livelihoods. This imposition of Hollywood's moral standards has wide-reaching effects on societal norms and individual behaviors. For many viewers, especially younger ones, films serve as a blueprint for social behavior, shaping their understanding of relationships and intimacy. And it's not only Neil McDonough, because talking about this issue, Mel Gibson also talked about this in one of his most famous interviews in 1998. Watch this shocking revelation in this clip.
It doesn't take very long before you realize, or before it gets to you. It's cascading on you all the time. You can't get away from certain attitudes, from certain modes of behavior that this town and the industry dictate. And no matter how strong you are, when you come in, you are going to be affected by this place. His whole opinion about women on film, from beginning to end, is very brief. He says, women on film, either naked or both is better. And it's like, whoa, whoa. The man has got a spiritual malady for a start. I mean, the scary thing is that I think a lot of people think that.
If you want to know why people like Mel Gibson and Neil McDonough got blacklisted from Hollywood, it's because they exposed their darkest secrets. The major film studios are after generating the most amount of money possible, and there's a dominant line of thought inside Hollywood's elite circles about the absolute need of having nude scenes due to its commercial appeal. Sex sells. It's a motto that the entertainment industry has long adhered to, even if it doesn't fit the context of the movie or doesn't add anything of value to it. I think it could be best summarized as lazy writing and production, where the inclusion of explicit scenes is used as a way to attract audiences over developing a good story that resonates with people. Although the woke culture is pervasive in Hollywood, I find it paradoxical that they increasingly push for equality and inclusivity, but also focus on objectifying women and trying their values to their physical appearances, rather than focusing on their performance and talent. Hollywood's therefore reinforcing their stereotypes that it claims to be fighting against. This objectification leads to actors and actresses being treated like objects instead of fully realized individuals. Another major actress who refused to drop her standards to advance her career is Raiden Greer. She refused to follow the instructions of a director who forced her to go topless in the TV show True Detective, saying, quote, "Everybody on this show goes topless, all the women on the show go topless." But Greer was not having any of that, and she noted, "It's just gonna be really insignificant in the background." I was like, well, if it's so insignificant, why is he so insistent that I have to do this? I was just on and on and on with no budging. Her career unfortunately went downhill afterwards, and she didn't star in movies other than the ones that she wrote and directed. Neil also experienced a similar situation, but managed to make a comeback with a twist. Watch this next clip to see how he did it.
A gentleman earlier said, you're so great at being a villain. Why you do so many villain roles? Why are you so great at it? Well, it's simple, and as I've talked to you about it, it may not be so cool in Hollywood, but it's working for me. I won't kiss another woman because, as a villain, I may kill 10 guys in a scene. And when we're filming the scene, it's actually kind of funny because it's so absurd. But at the end of the scene, we're like, hey, have a great night, see you later, let's go have a great time. I didn't actually kill anybody. But if I'm in bed with another woman and I kiss another woman, guess what I'm actually doing? I'm kissing another woman. I don't want my kids to see that. I don't want my family to see that. I really don't want God to see that. As I said earlier, honey, you weren't here for this. These lips are made for one woman, and that's you, babe.
And that's his right. In today's digital age, any content created can become permanent and accessible globally. Explicit scenes that actors agreed to today will resurface indefinitely, potentially impacting their future lives and careers. Unlike past decades when such content was confined to particular media and distributions, the internet ensures that once something is uploaded, it is nearly impossible to erase, and there are multiple cases where the performers reach the heights of their career without doing a single explicit scene. The best example is none other than Meryl Streep. Whether you agree with her politics or her hot takes on many topics, we cannot help but give it to her for standing her ground and reaching this level of success without the need of having to take off her top. But there seems to be optimism because according to a recent report, there is almost 40% less sexual content in major films than there was at the start of the millennium. But this decrease wasn't because Hollywood is on a path of moral remorse, far from it. This is the result of market demand, especially Gen Zers who are not interested in such scenes, as claimed by UCLA report. The researchers surveyed 1,500 adolescents and found that, and I quote, a near majority, 47.5%, said sex was not needed for the plot in most TV shows and movies, while 44.3% felt romance was overused in media. Nearly 39% wanted to see more aromantic or asexual characters on screen. I think the experiences of Gibson and McDonough reflect a broader issue within the industry. Those who do not comply with these unspoken rules find themselves excluded or blacklisted. Their careers suffered not because they lack talent or audience appeal, but because they challenge the status quo that equates commercial success with the inclusion of explicit scenes. But more and more actors are voicing their criticisms of this phenomenon with the goal of breaking this culture of conformity and only starring in movies at their terms and without having to sacrifice the values and morals that they believe in.